Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, MCPS redraws high school boundaries, and the backlash is fierce. Did Governor Wes Moore have a Sister Souljah moment? Congress rolls back EV mandates. What's the impact on Maryland? And hey, Steny, is it time to hang it up? Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. Joining us is Stacey Sauter, a member of the Montgomery County Republican Central Committee, and Cary Lamari, a civic activist. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. In Montgomery County, nothing stirs controversy like school boundaries, the third rail of local politics. With the opening of Woodward High in North Bethesda, Crown High in Gaithersburg, and the expansion of Damascus High School, the Board of Education isn't tweaking just one district, it's redrawing three. Cary, MCPS released 4 boundary options for each of the high schools, but it seems the one that affects Woodward is the one that is getting the most attention. Why are parents especially concerned about this school district?
You know, that's been the case ever since we've done boundary changes back years and years ago. The fact of the matter is, our school districts have a lot to do with equity, relationship with your peers, your children, as well as test scores or SAT scores. So it's not surprising that parents would be in an uproar. People pay a lot of extra money just to live in a specific school district. What can I tell you?
Well, but it seems, Cary, that after the bruising battles of the 70s and 80s over busing, that it was generally thought that a geographical relationship to the school was the most important. Are we backsliding on that? Are we looking for going back to the era of the early 70s?
Well, I mean, we've been talking about increasing housing in Montgomery County. There are limited opportunities to build new schools, because we've developed the county. So yeah, we are backsliding, or if not backsliding, we're just creating new. We're seeing new challenges in growth.
Stacey, I want to bring you in on this because the option number 3 that affects the Woodward School District, leapfrogs other school boundaries and pulls students from Aspen Hill into predominantly North Bethesda. Again, invoking the idea that busing is the solution. Is this political theater or is diversity the goal?
It's a great question, Casey, and I think it's always hard to tell when the spotlight's more about optics than outcomes. I say diversity is the plot and what will be a standing room only political theater. You have to question, is this a fight about moving students from political or maybe from lower income, more diverse neighborhoods like Aspen Hill into wealthier, whiter areas like North Bethesda under the aegis of promoting equity and diversity? Or is it simply virtue signaling and practicing social engineering without solving the root problem? Even if they were to move some of these kids out of that district over into a quote unquote wealthier, whiter area, then what are they doing to improve Aspen Hill? You can't ignore the kids that are left behind. So if you're going to be making strident efforts to improve that school, then why do you even have to bus them somewhere else? I'm not quite sure that that's the real fix if there's not true reciprocity, if that makes sense.
I think that's the key. The key from an outsider's position. You would want all of your schools to be improving. I mean, as we've seen the last 5 years, test scores have been on the downward trend, and that's because the focus of the MCPS hasn't been on education. Wouldn't you agree, Cary?
Well, it's funny you all said that. I mean, the Kennedy High School cluster has probably one of the lowest test scores in the county. We have high free and reduced meal rates. mobility rates. We're in need of help. We're in need of investment. The public school system has known for a long time they need to put money into it, but they chose, they're doing what they're doing.
Casey, if I can interrupt here, excuse me, or interject here. I'm a realtor, and I know for a fact that parents will move to any neighborhood affiliated with certain schools. And if Ashland Hill became a blue ribbon school, it doesn't matter the race, color, creed, it doesn't matter anything. Parents would be scrambling to move there. So that to me should be the focus. What are you doing to improve those schools? Because, integration doesn't necessarily bring inclusion. I mean, such as access to more difficult courses or critical social belonging. It just doesn't. So you have to really look at the whole picture here. I believe that Montgomery County is aggressively Tacoma parking the entire county. And our elected officials won't stop until they've annihilated what they perceive to be unfair privilege of upper classes and remake the county in their own socialist image.
Well, I've got the solution, as you all know, because this is what I repeat, and my mantra over and over again. We need vouchers. We need a voucher system where students can go to whatever school they want to and spend their own money on the vouchers. We need additional competition. That'll improve the schools all over the county and in each one of these districts. We're going to see a huge battle as they fight out where the boundary lines are for all these high schools. Cary, I love you. You're shaking your head. I know you think I'm wrong, but we got to go on to our next topic. And that is the Democratic Party nationwide is in flux. Some say it's too woke. Others say it's not woke enough. But you know what? All eyes are on our governor, the telegenic, the man with the golden smile, Wes Moore, the Maryland's charismatic governor and rising Democratic star. This week, Moore vetoed a bill calling for a study on reparations, a move likened to Bill Clinton's 1992 Sister Souljah moment when Clinton publicly distanced himself from the party's extreme. Cary, is Moore's veto political strategy or a missed opportunity?
Neither. If you listen to Wes Moore, he said, "Look, it's just not the right time at the moment." I mean, bear in mind we had a $3 billion deficit this year, and he's struggling with issues. I think equity issues like affordable housing. We just talked about schools. And if you're going to have reparations, you've got to identify, what does that mean? What does that look like? I think Governor Moore is trying to, just maneuver the waters, trying to understand the issue, and then identify how the state can best serve this population and this inequity, this generational wealth inequity.
So, Stacey, there are those that think that, Governor Moore, with his background as having been in the military and having worked in an equity position on Wall Street, that, he has moderate positions on certain things, and that gives him a persona that would be attractive to the average voters. Of course, I think he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, but I want to hear what you think, whether Moore can replicate Clinton's success and reposition himself for a national audience.
Casey, I told you a little while ago, I think what we're looking at here is Victor Victoria, that movie where Julie Andrews played Victoria Grant, who reinvents herself as Victor, a man pretending to be a woman performing as a female impersonator so that she could survive. And the question is whether Moore is Victor or Victoria. I believe he actually has more moderate tendencies that he may have pushed down to get elected in a very liberal Maryland. And that the people, the powers that be in the Democrat Party know this about him, and that they probably feel like he'd be one of the most viable candidates in the next election. So the question is he impersonating a liberal identity to get elected in Maryland? And then the closer we get to another presidential race, will he be singing centrism? And think about this, like you were just talking about, he came across as a racial equity champion, but then just vetoed the reparation study bill. And he recently paused enforcement of penalties for missing EV sales. The truth is he's clearly teeing it up to run for president. and has already achieved what he wanted, the support of liberals across Maryland to get elected governor. Who cares about Maryland in the presidential election? Governor Moore, if you're listening, Maryland needs a genuine leader, not a costume change. So we want to know, will the real Governor Moore...
Cary, all right, Cary, we got about a minute left. I'm going to give you the last word on this.
That's just totally unfair. Stacey, I love you to pieces, but oh my God, Wes Moore, he's doing the best he can. I mean, he's got a budget. He's playing the card game, the way it's dealt out. Okay. I think he's doing a good job. He's looking at the idea of creating affordable housing, opportunities in schools, transportation. He has to define what is what does it look like? How do we deal with reparations and how what is it going to look like in the end? I think he's a good guy.
I think we want authenticity, Cary. We want elected officials who are truly authentic. We know exactly what we're getting and where they're coming from. And I don't feel that way with him.
So now you're calling him the drag
he's got a
queen
limited
candidate.
budget.
Is that it, Stacey?
I'm sorry, say that again, Cary.
You called him the drag queen candidate?
No, I'm not, but I just don't want him to drag us into, any more messes than we need to. How's that?
All right, that's perfect. Perfect way to wrap it up. When we come back, Congress cancels California's EV mandate. What does that mean for Maryland? And is it time for Steny Hoyer to call it a career? Stay tuned.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right. Because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
When I first saw a turtle, my heart was full. Now I'm anything but lonely.
We have this deep connection, this heart connection.
He just wants to be close to you and part of your life.
Every day with Turtle is a perfect day.
When I'm holding her, it makes me feel calmer.
I think everything he does shows how much he loves us.
When we adopt a shelter pet,
We discover
they're a little bit of a lot of things.
But they're all pure love.
And welcome back. Many people don't know this, but in 1967, Congress passed the Air Quality Act. It was before the National Environmental Protection Act by several years. And it established certain things because the air was acknowledged being in a terrible condition. But it allowed California to set its own vehicle emission standards years before the EPA even existed. This week, however, both houses of Congress voted to repeal those waivers, effectively ending California's unique mission rules. And Governor Wes Moore, who recently adopted the EV mandate in Maryland, now has a big decision before them. Stacey, is this a win for Maryland drivers or a win for people all across the country?
I believe so, because we'll have more vehicle choice. Automakers may delay or abandon EV-only sales. And doing so means we'll have more gas-powered vehicles available and pricing flexibility. Drivers receive more options and possibly lower prices. So yes, I think for choice and economic comfort, I'm not sure that we have enough empirical data yet to really understand the impact that EVs are having on air quality. And, we already discussed this previously, and Cary, I know you can speak to this in greater detail, but Maryland has electrical issues. We import about 40% of our electricity as it is, and having more and more EVs on the road is only going to strain the system more. So I think that we need to have greater flexibility until we figure out if this is really proven to be efficient.
So, Cary, is this a win for the Constitution that the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, which allows the federal government to establish the rules and regulations that apply to economic behavior, is this a win for the Constitution, and that we shouldn't allow Washington or Sacramento set these standards? It should be the market.
We can talk about the market if you want to, but that's not what the problem is. And I think everybody's fooling themselves. And Congress knows what the problem is. The problem is our elected officials would rather pander to public opinion than deal with the real issues of infrastructure. And I'm not talking about just electric vehicle charging stations. I'm talking about electrical generation. I mean, if Stacey said it, we're purchasing 40% of our electricity from out of state. Now we have mandates that call for removal of all gas appliances in your homes. Having electric vehicle charging stations in every home, that's going to, require a significant amount of electricity. And then you've got these data centers. All you have to do is look at Elon Musk's Colossus data center in Memphis, Tennessee. He's going to be generating 150 kilowatts of electricity. Megawatts of electricity. He needs 300 kilowatts overall. The entire Tennessee, the city of Tennessee of Memphis is like 35 kilowatts. I mean, the reality is just mind-boggling. And the fact of the matter is, the way he's dealing with it is by putting 35 portable generators around his Colossus, his new data center, and he's creating enough pollution where people are actually being affected with COPD and other things. Congress needs to just look at this the way it is. We've got to, get involved, have a study, and then we have to fund it. $5.5 trillion for this new beautiful bill with $3.5 trillion in tax cuts. We need infrastructure. We need to create electrical generation in every state in the country.
Well, let's look closer to home, Cary, because in Annapolis, this past session of the General Assembly, the General Assembly would not take up Governor Moore's proposals about nuclear energy, and they continue to impose regulations restricting the production of energy in the state of Maryland. It's not we need leadership at home, not just in Washington.
I agree, and that's political cowardice. The bottom line is,
we got to give Stacey the last word on this.
I absolutely agree with what Cary just said, and that there is political cowardice at hand here, and we need more leaders, Casey, to your point, to step up and do the right thing.
All right. We're going to see how Governor Moore pivots on this issue, because certainly the ban now on California setting these standards is going to affect all of us down the road. Now, I want to go to this last topic. It's kind of an interesting one. It piqued my interest this week. In 1961, Steny Hoyer began his career as a staffer for Maryland Senator Daniel Brewster. He was 21 years old. Today, 64 years later, at 85, he's still in the Congress. He surely remembers JFK's stirring words in his inauguration, that the torch has been passed to a new generation. Well, isn't it time to pass the torch to another new generation? Stacey, is it ageist to suggest that Hoyer should hang it up?
Don't you think he might have worked for Senator Daniel Webster? Anyway,
Brewster. Did I say Webster?
No, I said Webster because he was back in the 1870s, right? Anyway, look, the older I get, I realize that if the suggestion is based solely on age without considering performance capabilities or accomplishment, I think it does risk being ageist. And ageism involves discriminating against someone because of their age simply. I mean, assuming they are no longer effective or capable just because they're older. I don't think that's fair. He's got a 35-year-old whippersnapper doing a primary challenge over in his district. And I think this is really going to be interesting. This guy has no political capital, no political experience, even though he was on Jeopardy, which is like pretty similar to Congress. They all know the answers, but they just don't know the questions. They don't have a buzzer either. So we'll see what happens. This is going to be interesting. I think that the voters will decide.
Yeah. Hey, Cary, you know who else worked in that office with Steny for Dan Brewster?
Who?
Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, wow.
Nancy Pelosi. Look. So is it time for Steny to go?
No, I don't know about that. I think the only person that can make that decision is Steny himself. He's been an excellent representative. I supported Biden. Okay, look what happened. The reality is, a candidate who sacrifices a lot of things, his family and a lot of things, for political gain. He's got to be honest and he's got to recognize his limitations. I think Steny's done a good job. I mean, if he's ready, and he needs time to enjoy his life too. I mean, if he stepped down, I would not blame him. I would support him so that he can enjoy the remaining few years of his life. It's a tough one. It's between him.
Well, I mean, all these are great points. I mean, but let's face it. We've talked about having mandatory retirement age for presidents as a result of the Biden administration, what happened with Woodrow Wilson, et cetera. So is it time to have a mandatory retirement age for the Congress? I mean, when poor Roscoe Bartlett ran, in the 6th district and lost to John Delaney, there was a huge issue about Bartlett's age, and he's younger than Steny. Come on, guys. 85, time for you to get out.
That means pretty soon you wouldn't be able to run either. No, look, everybody's different, and it's up to him and his constituents. That's the bottom line. We've had some really fantastic senior statesmen in our
Did you say
electorate.
that about Strom Thurmond? Come on. let's be real here. We need to pull the plug on these old guys. We need some new leadership. All right. We've chewed this one up to death. We're going to go to parting shots in a second, but before we do, I just want to remind everyone in the audience that today is the anniversary of D-Day, the day that America freed Europe and it freed the world on behalf of all of us. So let's not forget the men who fought and died on D-Day. Stay tuned for parting shots.
If I could go back and change it all, I would. I think I'm gonna miss you the most. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's just the little moments. If I could go back and change it all, if I could go back, I would. But I can't.
Hey world, I have a quick message. It's about safe driving. All right, let's go. Anytime you're driving, have the seatbelt buckled tight. Both hands on the wheel and your phone out of sight. When not in your hand trying to text somebody back. Because if you do, your car might get smacked. The moral of the story, just put your phone down. The people on the road will stay safe and sound. Put your phone down, put your phone down. People on the road will stay safe and sound. Yeah.
Now with parting shots, Cary Lamari.
Okay there, Casey. We're hitting the dog days of the summer. It's going to start getting very warm, very fast. And I want all of y'all to stay hydrated, especially us older folks. Stay hydrated, take care of yourself, take care of your family, and enjoy your summer. Thank you very much from me, my family, and the family of 21 this week to all of you.
Thank you, Cary. Stacey Sauter, your parting shot.
So first of all, thank you for having me on the show again. It's always a pleasure. And Cary, it's always great to see you. I'm going to say that we've got a lot of great things going on at the MCGOP. If you're interested in finding out more, go to www.mcgop.com. I'm going to use this moment to do a little bit of a public service announcement. There are a lot of phone scams that are going on out there right now. I have a client. I went to his house the other day and he was on the phone with somebody posing to be the chief of police for Gaithersburg, and they were shaking this poor man down for money. He had gotten a text message that said someone had charged $115 to his Apple account if he didn't do this, go to this number, which he did, and it was this huge scam. And I ended up having to take him to the bank to close his existing bank accounts older guy had already given them his driver's license and his bank account numbers. It's dangerous. If you get a text message, you don't know who it's from, do not respond to it.
Yeah. Just, it's a great reminder because governments don't operate on text messages. They still use snail mail for most of their contact with citizens. So be very aware. That's a great point, Stacey. Cary, thank you for being here. Now, you look so relaxed and tan and good from your cruise in the Caribbean. Appreciate your coming on today. And I want to thank the audience for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.